ProPublica. But yes.
Mayor, we're at 7 o'clock. We need to do that, fix that clock up there.
Bring my own.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 4th City of Oldsmar Council meeting. It is 7 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. This evening, our invocation and pledge allegiance to the flag will be led by Chaplain Milton Smith. Please rise.
Thank you for allowing me to pray with you today. Let us bow. Lord, we come thanking you for the blessings of another day. We thank you for each and every day. We realize there are others who are suffering and recovering from the destruction of Hurricane Ian. We pray that you will meet their every need. We're grateful for you for the protection of the city of Oldsmar, the top of the bay. Bless the city, mayor, city council, city manager, and staff. We pray that as we enter this month of fire prevention, that you would bless the fire chief, administrative staff, and firefighters. May their efforts keep all of the residents and visitors of this city safe. Now we ask your blessing upon this meeting tonight, that every decision that is made may be a benefit to the citizens of the city of Oldsmar. It's in your holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Chaplain. Next item on the agenda is our Citizens Open Forum. Each speaker will be recognized once and be limited to a 5-minute presentation on any subject. The open forum will conclude at 7:30. I want to start at this side of the room. Come on up, Linda.
Hello. Oh, Linda Norris, 510 Oakwood Boulevard, Oldsmar, for 3 more months. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Felicia, Tom, Ann, and Kathy. I'm here tonight in gratitude for many things and with a heavy heart for what our southern neighbors in Orlando and everybody that got hit by Ian. My heart is just so heavy for them. May God hold them and comfort them. 17 years ago, when Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans and Mississippi, I had family that evacuated to my home. We sat on my couch as we watched the television, and we watched their hometown and their homes gone, obliterated, devastated. After we got done crying, we got to work. And we organized a citywide supply drive. The kind citizens of Oldsmar, they donated. I'm nervous. You know, I was never nervous up there. And now I get over here and I got to talk to you guys and I'm nervous. It's not right. Anyhow, the kind citizens of Oldsmar donated enough stuff to fill an entire U-Haul, all our personal vehicles, and the U-Haul here in Oldsmar gave us the U-Haul truck for free. And I think maybe the chamber paid for the gas, I'm not sure. And we went to Biloxi because they kind of got forgotten a little bit because New Orleans got most of the press, right? So, and I spent a week up there, so I saw firsthand what Category 5 hurricane can do. And I come back, now I was only living in Oldsmar for 5 years, and I get a notification that I'm getting an award. And I'm like, what am I getting, what? So anyway, so the very first time I ever stepped foot in council chambers, the one across the street, was 2005, when council gave me the council manager award for those efforts. And Jerry Beaverland was the mayor, of course, and it was Jim Roniker, Suzanne Vale, Chris Bohr, and Don Bohr, Janice Miller, right. And so that was the first time that, I had ever had the honor of even knowing anything about city government. I'd never been involved before. So the council and the city were so amazing at giving us awards. Tonight, I'm here to present one to them, to y'all. Most folks have no idea what y'all go through to prepare our city and our residents in the event of a national disaster. If Hurricane Ian hadn't changed course, the massive devastation we see in Southwest Florida could have been ravaged upon us, and many of our homes would be gone. I encourage everybody to read Felicia's post on Facebook, because she lists everything that has to be done. You get tired just reading the list. Think about it. Having to secure an entire city, all the city vehicles, everything, for 14,000 of us. So I want to quote from her post. Quote, "The 150 people on Oldsmar's team showed up, gave all they had, worked basically 24/7 while facing personal potential catastrophe." Think about that. All we have to do is we got to secure our homes, we got to get our family and our pets, and we got to get out of Dodge. But they're all holed up in a freaking shelter-like thing on cots, 24/7 for, 3 days, I don't know how long y'all had to do that, but unquote. Not all that was her quote. I messed up. So they are all very deserving of our deepest gratitude. So I have an award. I'd like to read the inscription. Let me get it out. I had to protect it. I hope I don't run out of time. You guys give us awards, so you guys are getting an award. Okay. Presented to Felicia Donnelly, Oldsmar City Manager, and all, I made sure they capitalized all, City of Oldsmar employees for their heroic efforts to keep us safe during Hurricane Ian. With love from Linda Norris, on behalf of scores of grateful citizens. September 2022. So, I don't know. Oh, I have to give a shout out to Bayshore Trophies and Awards in Clearwater, because they fast-tracked this, and so thank you, Christy and Charles. They know Kathy. So thank you, and I just want to say how blessed we all are that we still have a town. Oh, look at that! Nice. So, can I?
Yep, of course, yep, of course. You want to go down and get it, please?
And I picked the blue for.
Very nice.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody else on this side of the room? Mayor, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I just kind of want to echo what Linda said. Having been mayor in 2016 when Charlie was aimed right at us, I kind of know what goes on behind the scenes and the amount of work and effort that go into keeping our city safe and our toilets flushing and our water running. And some of the things that we wouldn't even think of. And so I know there was a little bit of negative postings out there, and I just want to let Felicia know and all the city staff know that we really do appreciate not only our first responders, but the city staff that work effortlessly or tirelessly to make sure that we're safe. They were spending days away from their own families and not sure. I remember when Al and I walked down the stairs at Nielsen in 2016 when Charlie was aimed at us, and we were in a room that didn't have any windows, so we weren't exactly sure. And I remember being scared to open that door because we just weren't sure what was going to be out there. And luckily, knock wood, it turned. But thank you again to the city staff and to everybody and the council and everybody that was there. There was a bunch of you. And even the food preparation people. I heard peanut butter and jelly was the last meal. Is that correct? Love it. Thank you. Thank you again.
Dave, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen. Dave McKinley, 445 Hickory Nut Avenue, accompanied with my mother at 623 Timber Bay Circle, right down the road. I'm here representing right now the veterans in the community that we have with our All-American VFW Post 12186 right here for Oldsmar. Thank you very much. And I'm also proud that my mother's here as a auxiliary member supporting us. We're here to make a statement for our friends at Oldsmar Cares. Everyone here should already know who Oldsmar Cares is, but if you don't, and for anybody that's at home watching on YouTube, they are a all-volunteer network group that is our community's first defense and food and clothing distribution center, as well as providing financial needs for those and going through trying times. They are located, if you don't know, down on 580. I'm sure you've seen the big, beautiful, bright yellow building, this color, right, with the blue trim going around it. Our current situation for them, as has been brought up, is Hurricane Ian. Now, many of us here were all focused on supporting and defending our own positions here in our community in Oldsmar. Everyone, through all the media and the news and preparations, was dictating that was going to come through the mouth of Tampa Bay into our own Mobley Bay. And of course, that would have forced our low-lying areas of Oldsmar for those high waters and winds to surge through our local community. As Hurricane Ian hit the ground, in our benefit, it continued to move east, and so we did not feel those devastating effects. However, it's been brought up, those that are just south of us have, just 2 hours south. We get to go home, and they are trying to find their home. And so, yet again, with Mom and Oldsmar Cares, they are reaching out and extending their network of support. And as FEMA is providing air and truckloads of food, water, and clothing, we don't need those items. What we're looking for is those second-tier items. We want personal hygiene things, from simple stuff that you wouldn't think about until you go home and your home's not there. A bar of soap, toothbrush, toothpaste. Young children that are out there that are probably looking for a clean diaper and baby wipes. Surviving pets that need dry dog and cat food. These are the kind of items. There's a full list that are on the Facebook site for Oldsmar Cares. You can find them at Oldsmar Cares. Or you can go through their website that's got more contact and donation information. That's oldsmarcares.org. So with a full list of items that you can find there, I would ask, please, as we continue to prepare and we're fortunate not to receive those devastating effects, that we show, Mayor has said, how fantastic that this group of local veterans we have, this group of volunteers that we have, and the number of families that we have in this community continue to show the depth of how Oldsmar is strong. So with that, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Just so you guys know, Felicia and I emailed each other. I think we're going to talk about this later. We're going to support Oldsmar Cares for the city to donate to you guys so you can take things down for us or help us with that whole process.
Fantastic.
You
Thank
got
you.
it. We're going to focus on that.
I know when I went down to Hurricane Andrew, and I saw what they needed, and it was the small things, suntan lotion, the small flashlights, bug spray. Those are the things that, people don't think of. It's, the bigger things that that they already need, water, food. So we appreciate anything anybody can do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming up
Thanks for your time.
today. Thank you.
everyone.
Anybody else on this side of the room would like to speak to the council? All right, anybody on this side of the room? Okay, we got it. Come on up. Oh, Pam?
Hi, Pam Settle, 439 Lakeview Drive in Forest Lakes. So I'm actually here speaking to the people of Oldsmar. I do want to thank all of the city employees for everything that they did to prepare the city for the storm. But every storm, I read frustration in social media, and it comes from the fact that people don't understand the ins and outs of what's happening. And as the person who wrote the hurricane survival guide for the county, I'm always so frustrated that people don't know, because I know the information is put out there. But for those of us in Forest Lakes and some of the other areas, I think we assume that the surge flooding is going to happen in the older part of Oldsmar next to the water. But the kind of storm that Ian was, the kind of water that it brought could bring flooding to areas that are on the other side of Tampa Road, depending on how much surge came. I'm not sure that I know exactly the math that where our elevation is in Forest Lakes. We went from a C to a B, and I'm not sure that people realize that that means we are more susceptible to surge flooding, and that your hurricane insurance will not cover that flooding. You need flood insurance. And many of us don't have flood insurance because we haven't needed flood insurance. So I'd like to ask for there to be some kind of maybe an educational workshop about surge flooding in the areas that are outside of the main area by the water, so that we understand more about surge flooding and who really needs to have flood insurance. But it would be a total loss for my home, my neighbors' homes. Sandbags aren't going to stop that kind of flooding. The reason we don't have shelters in Oldsmar is because we're too low. The shelters are in the high point of Pinellas County, in Countryside, and Palm Harbor. You have to evacuate there. You need to have a reservation if you have special needs, and you need a reservation if you have a pet. So if floodwaters were coming, as they were predicted to come on Sunday, people would have had nowhere to evacuate if they didn't have plans. So I think this is an eye-opener, and I'm begging my neighbors to take this seriously. Research what surge flooding means. Look at the elevation of your home. Make sure you have insurance, and make sure you have a plan of where you can evacuate, because they won't take you. And if there's no gas and there's no roads out, you have nowhere to go. And I saw somebody post on Facebook to somebody else on somebody else's post and said, if Ian hits you, it's bye-bye Oldsmar. And that was a very sobering thing to read, because we would have been probably looking like South Florida is, and I think that's a very scary thought, and we need to be as prepared as we can be for the next time when we aren't so lucky. So thank you.
Thank you, Pam. All right, Suda, you're up. Here we go.
Good evening, council, staff, community, all of those that are here present today. Suda Yantis Cologne, 402 Arlington Avenue East, Oldsmar, Florida. Get the formalities out of the way. We are here very excitedly to bring you a little preview of something very special coming up. And I even brought my own boom box today so we could really hear it instead of from my phone. And I'm going to do this and this.
I'm the daughter of the village chief. We are descended from voyagers who found their way across the world. They call me. You've delivered us to where we are. You have journeyed farther. You are everything you've learned and more. Still it calls me. And the call isn't out there at all. It's inside me. It's like the tide, always falling and rising. I will carry you here in my heart. You remind me
That is just one of the pieces of our upcoming Moana Junior performance. Actors, do me a favor, take a big step forward and turn around and face the crowd this way. Moana, show us how you end that song. I am. Come on, you got this, girl.
That was
Just say it then.
fantastic,
Just say it.
you guys.
I am Moana.
That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. Okay, first of all, let me go ahead and make a couple of quick announcements, and then we'd like to invite council down maybe to take a quick photo with our group. That would be wonderful. Moana Junior is coming up October 15th. Sometimes they're able to do a, not this time, October 15th, 7 p.m. Oh, there we go. 7 p.m. at Ari Olds Park. This is on the wonderful Elizabeth Smith Amphitheater. The food vendors will open at 6 p.m. We have Pit Stop Barbecue and Uncle Dave's Kettle Corn. So we say come and have dinner with our vendors before the show. And then our show will begin at 7 p.m. This is a free outdoor event. We invite all of the public, council, and staff, and anyone that can come join us. And parking is also available along the easement of Shore Drive West. But we are starting a new shuttle service, and if you can't find parking there, you head over to the library, and they will shuttle you in from the library. This is brought to you by Oldsmar Friends of the Arts in partnership with the City of Oldsmar. Real quick, so I can try and stay within my time here. Don't lose my phone, I got music to exit by. All right, I'm going to go through the cast in the order of their appearance. Michaela Tierney, stand forward, raise your arm up. She is our chief ancestor and left claw. Fallon O'Brien is a chief ancestor and right claw. Haley Downs as a chief ancestor. Madison Elkin with that beautiful voice for Moana for us. Max Kiefner as Chief Tui and also the crab Tamatoa. Yvonne Jabali as Sina. Moana's mother, Ane Aido as Hey Hey. There she is. And Allison Elkin as Pua. Vivian Holmesy as one of our villagers. And Masha, I always mess up your last name. Say it properly for me. Macrucian, thank you, as Grandma Tala, and she also plays our gate monster. Loki Miller as Maui with the hook. And then we have several dancers that weren't able to be here tonight. So we want to invite you all to come down and take a photo if you would. Ancestors, let's go over here and line up. I need you, go kneel, get them on line.
No, I'm gonna go to this corner.
We're gonna go here right after backup, so I got a feeling too. They're right here. They're right in here. And then here, no, we don't have no problem with all of our big poses, that's okay. Switch with Arnie. Switch with Arnie. Yeah. Okay, front row, kneel down. Okay, look out this way at the cameras. I don't know, I know it's hard to get in the photo. You might try leaning in over the top of the dais also. Here, hang on, back up a little bit more, you guys. Mr. Mayor, if you won't mind. There we go. Let's give it a little bit of room. There we go. Come on, we got to do this photo nice. All right, there we go.
Ya quieren ser. You're behind the hairpiece, so I can't see you. Yeah, there we go. Okay, ready, everybody? 1, 2, Moana!
Wonderful. Now, before they head out, we would like to ask some of the kids, go down that side, go down that side, pass out some of our postcards, go down this side, somebody go down this side, and I believe all the council already has our postcards.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I briefly asked if you might be able to come and open up the show. I think you made note of it, but you didn't with me. I did not do it formally.
Okay, what's the date? The 15th, right?
15th. Don't go yet, just pass out postcards for me. Because as we leave, we have one more special thing for you guys.
I'm here. I'm here.
Council. We love the opportunity to be able to share just a little bit with you, and we hope to see you all and a lot of our community out for this great show coming up a week from this Saturday, actually. Yes. Thank you all.
Here. Bye-bye.
See
Thank
on
you so
stage.
much.
Well done. Thank you.
Love it. You got it. Thank you, guys.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Then I'm going to close the citizens' open forum. The next item on the agenda is our community minute, which will be read by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
USA BMX Gator Nationals, October 7th through 9th, Oldsmar BMX Supercross Track, Oldsmar Sports Complex, presented by Visit St. Pete Clearwater. Over 1,000 BMX riders are anticipated to compete in the 2022 Gator Nationals. Free admission, daily parking $10, weekend parking $25, free shuttle from Curlew Creek Elementary, which is overflow to City Hall on Saturday and Sunday. Learn more at experienceoldsmar.com. Second Friday coming up, Friday, October 14th, 6 to 9 at State Street West, presented by Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. Monthly event held on the east property next to City Hall. Event features food vendors, live music, and more. You learn more at utbchamber.com. And community workshop for the comprehensive plan, Wednesday, October 19th, from 6 to 8 at Hampton Inn and Suites. Residents and businesses are encouraged to attend for an update of Vision 2043, Oldsmar's comprehensive plan. And you can learn more at myoldsmar.com on that as well. And please come out and share what you'd like it to happen with the comprehensive plan. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Next item on our agenda is approval of additional new agenda items, items 14 and 15. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion on those items? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is awards and recognition. We don't have anything. Next item is the consent docket, and that will be read by Ann Nixon, and she needs water.
Indeed, I do. Item number 1, approve annual purchase of sodium hypochlorite from Odyssey Manufacturing Company under the same pricing terms and conditions as the Tampa Bay Water Cooperative Bid Contract Number 2022-016, CC 22-001. Item number 2, approve awarding the sludge hauling and disposal services contract to Appalachian Materials Services Incorporated, AMS, under the same pricing terms and conditions as the City of Tarpon Springs contract number IFB-2000049-B-JL, piggyback 20-021. Item number 3, approve purchase of a John Deere 6120M tractor from Dobbs Equipment under the same pricing terms and conditions of the Florida Sheriff's Association contract FSA 20-EQU 18.0 CC 21-020A. Item number 4, approve purchases for the repair, replacement, or supply of utility plant equipment from Mader Electric Motors per the same pricing terms and conditions of Lee County contract number B190409JJB, piggyback 20-028. Item number 5, approve the annual purchase of sodium hydroxide from Allied Universal Corporation under the same pricing terms and conditions as the Tampa Bay Water Cooperative Bid Contract Number 2020-024, CC 20-001. Item number 6, approve the purchase of carbon dioxide from Matheson Trigas Incorporated under the same pricing terms and conditions as Sarasota County Contract Number 191784HR, piggyback 20-002. Item number 7, approve awarding contract for environmental monitoring services to Greenman Peterson Incorporated, GPI, under the same terms and conditions as Southwest Florida Water Management District Swift Mud Contract Number 19CN000196, piggyback 20-004. Item number 8, approve awarding contract to Asphalt Paving Systems Incorporated for the citywide street resurfacing project per the pricing terms and conditions of Sumter County Contract Number 032-0-2021, backstroke RS, piggyback 22-011. Item number 9, approve awarding contract to National Auto Fleet Group doing business as L&J Fleet Sales for the purchase of a 15-passenger van per the pricing terms and conditions of Sourcewell Contract Number 091521, CC 22-005.
Great job. Thank you so much. It's the first of the year for the budget, so there's a lot of items. Does
I
any,
saw
yeah,
The Public Works and all the stuff to run the RO plant, all those chemicals.
on our city.
I remember when Councilmember Norris gave us the education on all those chemicals, remember?
She absolutely did.
I remember that.
Does anybody wish to pull anything? Okay, with that, I need a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion, how about a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on any of these items? With that, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, next item on the agenda is the City of Oldsmar, and it's the presentation of Proclamation of 2022 Fire Prevention Week, and that will be done by Councilmember Andrew Knapp.
Good old tap. Thank you, Mayor. I'm here to present the proclamation for 2022 Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the City of Oldsmar is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Oldsmar, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires caused 2,580 civilian deaths in the United States in 2020, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And fire departments in the United States responded to 356,500 home fires. And whereas smoke alarms sense smoke well before you can, alerting you to danger in the event of fire, in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. Working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas Oldsmar residents should be sure everyone in the home understands the sounds of smoke alarms and knows how to respond. Residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Oldsmar residents will make sure their smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all their family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And whereas Oldsmar first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas the 2022 Fire Prevention Week theme, Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, effectively serves to remind us it is important to have a home fire escape plan. Now, therefore, I, Councilmember Andrew Knapp, on behalf of Dan Saraki, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 9th through 15th, 2022 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the city, and urge all the people of Oldsmar to plan and practice a home fire escape for Fire Prevention Week 2022, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Oldsmar's Fire and Emergency Services, dated this 4th day of October 2022. With that, Chief and staff, would you all like to come up? I just want to point out too that not only is the theme, presented here, but they've got it on their marquee at the station. And my wife and I drove by the other day, and she's like, do we have a plan? And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, we don't. So it's. I thank you for putting that up, because it probably prompts people to see that and say, hey, think about it. Just that thought went a long way. So thank you.
Great job, guys.
Make sure to wear our bow ties next time so we all match. I think it was said well in the proclamation, and I appreciate you bringing up the marquee. It's important to plan your escape with today's building construction and the way things are made. Fires burn a lot faster and a lot hotter, so it's good to have a plan and practice that plan. And we have this week in place to remind everybody to do so. So, thank you.
Great job, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. Item number 11 is presentation of proclamation for Florida City Government Week, which I'll be doing that, and I'll be presenting that to our city manager, Felicia Donnelly. Florida City Government Week, whereas city government is the government closest to the citizens and one of the most direct daily impact upon its residents, and whereas municipal government provides services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, making their city home, and whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along the understanding of public services and their benefits. And whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity for elected officials, city staff, to spread the word to all citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government. And whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to teach citizens about municipal government through a variety of activities. Now, therefore, I, Dan Saraki, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 17th to the 23rd, 2022, as Florida City Government Week in the City of Oldsmar. And I encourage all citizens, city government officials, employees to recognize and celebrate Florida City Week, dated this day, October 4th, 2022. And I want to just say one thing, that Felicia Donnelly is some of the people that got up here today. You have done an amazing job for our city. I'm proud to have you as our city manager, and I'm honored to present this to you. Let's get right behind the seal. How's that? Hold on, I'm getting my button here. Yeah, right here. Thank you.
Really good.
Yeah, you say that to everybody. Hey, you better come and take pictures of him all the time.
Look really good. Look really good.
No, okay, we ready? Item 12, Business Assistant Program Presentation. That's, I guess, the Chamber. Chamber of Commerce, welcome. Well, guys, we're excited.
I should still introduce myself, huh? Jason Sanders with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. I have with me
Doug Beavis, Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce, and I forgot this before, 359 Bay Arbor Boulevard. I forgot the protocol. In the public forum, sorry. I don't know if you want to tee it up a little bit, and then I have a slideshow.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're here to give the yearly presentation for the BAP agreement, show you what we've done throughout the year and some things we've worked on. It'll give you a good overview, kind of what that we've been involved in. Bless you. And you know, if you have any questions or need any further explanation on anything, we can provide it to you probably tonight or even afterwards, you know, and get more in depth on anything that you'd really like to know about, get into, and see how we do things. But for now, we'll go through the slideshow.
I guess so.
Yeah, we'll do that and then see if you have any questions.
So I kind of put together, you have some information in your packet, our report. I also neglected to put in there our testimonials from some of our chamber members, as well as Pinellas County Environmental Economic Development Group. So
Yeah, we got
yep, those. So I forgot to include that. So I wanted to kind of make this a little bit more visual for those that are millions of people that are watching at home, or 8 of you, I think. And then also this kind of puts it into the record. So there's some things in here that are part of the BAP, but I also wanted to discuss some of the things that I feel that our chamber adds to the value of the Chamber of Commerce, not only for our businesses, but our residents as well, that are kind of added value to the BAP. Let's see if I know how to do this. I don't know where I am. Do I have to turn it on?
Excuse me, Mayor Beavis, is the clicker on?
I don't know how you turn it on.
Need your glasses?
Should be green on the side.
There, looks like it.
Don't click it too fast. Sometimes it jumps like 8
So
ahead.
one of the things we obviously do is ribbon cuttings. These were a couple of the most recent ones, successful ones that we've done. The one on the lower left said that was probably one of the warmest welcomes that they'd ever received for one of the openings of their restaurants. So we did 14 of them, and 317 people registered. Obviously, a lot of people, including the staff of the ribbon cutting, don't register. So that's a little more than one a month. Economic development, we hold economic development meetings once a month. Sometimes we're not successful at getting the attendance that we'd like to have, so we're going to probably revisit that. We covered, let's see, 8 topics, and we had 46 registered guests. So we also do a lot of lunch and learns that you saw in your report and things like that. So we're trying to figure out what's the best means of transferring this information to our businesses. These are our trustee meetings that we have. We try and have them every month. December we struggle with, but you can see we have a pretty big list of heavy hitters that have been part in this past year. Tampa International Airport, the Tampa Bay Rays, the President of Operations, Steve Hayes, the CEO of Visit St. Pete Clearwater, Chairman Dave Eggers of Pinellas County Commission, ESPN, to talk about the events that happen in the area, property appraiser Mike Twitty, James Poulter, who's here, the CEO of the Chichi Rodriguez Foundation, Senator Hooper, and you can see there Gus Bilirakis. So we try and provide some great guests to speak at our trustees. We're slowly trying to get back to doing them in person. So I want to talk about economic development. We all know we have a lot of events that the chamber does, and so we wanted to show kind of what the economic development impact is for the events that we do, and this was done using the Florida Recreation and Park Association's impact calculator that talks about events. So Beer Fest is something new that's starting in November, but this hopefully will replicate itself every year. We teamed up with Tampa Bay Brewing Company, and it's going to be November 5th, I believe. Is that correct? November 5th. And they're expecting 65 beer vendors from all around the country to converge on our city, staying in our hotels and eating at our restaurants. It's only about a 5-hour event, but they're coming days before and probably stay afterwards. So that has an economic impact to our city of $186,000. The next one is Celebrate Oldsmar. This is from 2021, and these are based on estimations of how many people we have that participate. That has an impact of $397,000 on the surrounding city and the surrounding area. The next one is Oldsmar Days, and again, another 3-day event with vendors and people that come and stay in hotel rooms and things, and that's just under a $500,000 impact to the area. Oktoberfest, this is the big one, and while Oktoberfest, for those that don't know the history of Oktoberfest, it used to be at R.E. Olds Park, but it got so dang successful that we had to move it to Tampa Bay Downs. Tampa Bay Downs, half of their property is in the city of Oldsmar, and they reference themselves as the city of Oldsmar on all their material, so it definitely has an impact to the region. That impact is $1.4 million to the area. So what does that look like when you add all that together? Oops, $2.4 million to the area. So let's talk about our current chamber membership, because I've heard some questions about that. 510 current members, both locally and regional. We have some like Adobe that out in California that are chamber members. 50% are in Hillsborough. I say Hillsborough, but it's non-Pinellas, I would say, and 50% in Pinellas County. So that puts 250 in Hillsborough County and outside of the Pinellas area. 255 in Pinellas, and then of those 255, 162, or 62%, are actually in Oldsmar. And I say that to note that all chambers in the county, including Tarpon Springs, Dunedin, Safety Harbor, and Clearwater, all have members outside of their city limits. This is a healthy chamber mixture and promotes regional economic development. I say that to say this. Just because the business isn't in the city of Oldsmar doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact in the city of Oldsmar. This is our current city council, and I think I'm correct. I hope I am. Katie Gannon's office is based in Tampa. Is that correct?
It is.
Yep. Andrew Knapp and Dan Saraki in Oldsmar. Jared Buckman, Atlanta, and Steve Graber, Santa Ana, California. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, close enough. Yeah.
Birmingham,
Okay.
but it was Atlanta, so you're good.
And again, this just points while a business might be outside of the city limits or even the state, the employees that work there can still have an economic impact on their local economy. Let's see where we're going next. So this is a prime example, and that's the cover letter that you see there from Pinellas County Economic Development, Scott Talcott. The Chamber of Commerce was heavily involved in this Herod Properties that several of us went to, and the adverse and positive impact that that's going to have on the city of Oldsmar when it's all said and done. Let's see. So currently, and I have the most recent tax receipt, it has a value of $2.2 million, and that's really only the land because they haven't gotten their CO yet, which they'll probably do in 2023 if they're smart, which will mean that it will take into effect, I think I'm correct, in 2024.
Yeah.
So currently, through the efforts of the Chamber of Commerce in helping them get their ESP funds to make that building happen, that's an impact of $9,297 a year. However, when they get their CO, the estimated value for that building is going to be $26,250,000, and that's based on an average market rate currently of $175 a square foot, or on a $150,000 building, and you can see the ad valorem impact that that's going to have on an ongoing basis is $106,000 a year. So this also kept two existing high-tech businesses, which is part of the ESP program that the Pinellas County has, allowing them to expand and grow. The Chamber also facilitated the sale of Quality Thin Films, which is Edmunds Optics, who's moving into the Jared's property. And that was sold for $1.95 million, and that's going to allow another business to come in here as soon as Edmunds moves into the Harrods property. So here's another thing that the Chamber of Commerce did with the help of Vince Albanese. I'm sure you know Vince, Oldsmar Neighborhood Association, in conjunction with Emerge 180. So the Employee Retention Credit Fund is money that is coming directly back to our business community. So are you on this list? The majority of these businesses are in Oldsmar. Empower Adventures. The Jolly Trolley, I can tell you, is getting back over $600,000. Amici's Catering, the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. You can see the list there. So to date, roughly 27 companies that are part of the chamber, and not necessarily part of the chamber, but in the area, have benefited from the efforts of the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. And what does that look like in dollars? $3.7 million that's directly coming back into our business community solely because of the efforts of the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce. This is money that is real money to them that they can use to expand their business. In the case of Express Oil Lube, they're getting back enough money that it may facilitate a third store for them. Big Cat Rescue, you have a letter in there from them as well, and what that's afforded them to do. There's a couple others, I think, in your packet, but a church got back $500,000, which, you know, that money to a church is huge. And that's going to afford them the opportunity to improve their website, their communications, and a lot of things that they wouldn't have money to do. So I think if you add all that up, it's quite a bit of money. So these are the things that are in addition to the BAP. And, you know, I don't know if we revisit the BAP and what it looks like, but these are things that we do as a chamber because we love the community and we love our business community. And so I take our hat off to our board of directors. And you talked about the BAP. The BAP really is more than just one person. It's not me. It's not Joe Elmer. It's not Mark Howe. You know, that BAP agreement includes 19 members of our board of directors that are very well-connected people in the community. And so that is access to us too, because I had heard that it was mentioned that maybe the city could hire somebody that could do what the chamber does. Good luck. So I ended with that. I'll answer any questions. Did I miss anything? We got a couple of our board members here, Sandy Grimes and James Coulter. Anything else? Mark Howe? want to close it out? I think that's about it. I just wanted to add some visual effect to what we're doing beyond the BAP agreement.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say also that one of the things is with some of the events, you probably see them as just events and weekend things we do for the community and everything as well. Some of those things, like the new beer fest that they wanted to have, that started with a company that's in Hillsborough, technically, because they're on the other side, outgrowing their current space and looking for another spot. It wasn't just, hey, Oldsmar is going to do a beer fest 2022. They were looking for a place. They were looking in Safety Harbor, Dunedin. They were looking for a place to go and put this on. So we talked to them and talked about the advantages of Oldsmar and what could we do to have it here. Fortunately, presented it to you, and you were, agreed and are having them here. But they could have been anywhere. So that's part of bringing the business into the community and bringing the business into Oldsmar in the local area, so we can have those connections with the people, connections with other businesses, and so forth. So that affords us a lot as well. It's been a good year. We've done a lot, expanded our reach per se, not even into other counties and, with other businesses, but we've done a lot of work with the North Pinellas cities for economic development. So we're getting our groups together and voices together to talk to Pinellas County. I actually started sitting on a Pinellas County steering committee for economic development. So I'm engaged with them quarterly, monthly, with meetings and everything as well, which is, bringing Oldsmar a good voice into Pinellas County, something that we can talk about there and tell them to not forget about everybody up here in the North Counties. So with that, it's been good, and like I said, we've expanded our reach to a lot of people and getting a lot more contacts out there and everything as well. Because anybody will tell you in economic development, I read up a bunch on it in the last year as I was getting more and more involved. And the main thing is relationships. One of the main things is relationships that they have, because you need relationships on the county level and on the state level and on the local level and with council. And those things become real important, but those things we've really cemented in the past couple of years, and that's one thing that we want to do, is reach out and be able to get in touch with and be accessible to the people and have them accessible to us, more importantly. When we had a question or we needed somebody to talk to, we were able to make a phone call. We can make a phone call and they pick up. So I think it's been good, and it's been able to advance our reach a little bit, and I think it's been good for business in the community as well. So if there are any questions, I guess?
Anybody have
And
any-
I'll add to that point, I'm sorry. We are your business connection to the community, to the business community. You don't have time to go meet with everybody one-on-one or to hear the complaints of people that are getting new permits or opening a store. I mean, I know you probably get them, Mayor, as I did when I was mayor, people having problems, opening their business. We are that. We try and help facilitate that. The one thing that I didn't really touch on that really is, again, a relationship building is, we just finished probably our most successful golf tournament. I can't tell you how many of the local businesses that participated in that, and they said, one in particular, Lowe's Commercial Painting, I don't know if Linda knows them or not, but Lowe's Commercial Painting said, we're joining the chamber. We didn't realize how well of events that you guys put on. I also didn't touch on like the indoor golf tournament, huge networking for our businesses. We're a great business-to-business chamber event, holder. I also didn't mention how many nonprofits, Mark? 35 nonprofits that we work very closely with in our footprint as well, trying to help them better their cause, including Oldsmar Cares. So a couple of things that I forgot to touch on. So I don't know if there are any questions for anybody that's here.
Anybody want to start on that? Katie, you have any questions? Want to
Yeah, I
start
just
out?
had a couple quick questions. Doug, you mentioned improving on some of the educational topics. Is there anything else on the horizon that you guys have, that you're working on as far as the BAP goes?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't remember specifically what is all in that we're required to do, but our lunch and learns, we're really trying. We took the summer off. Sam he had some surgery, and so but it's coming back. Tomorrow is our second one, and I think we now have a format for that and kind of a plan. It's not just, what are we talking about this week? So we are definitely trying to educate our business community on a variety of topics. Same with the economic development. It's like, what do the people want? And the frustrating part for us as a chamber with a lot of events, whether it's the trustee meetings or the economic development meetings, people just aren't participating. You know, we send it out to our masses, and it's frustrating. How do you bring the chairman of the county commission to a room full of 4 people, you know, or Senator Ed Hooper, or, you know, Congressman Gus Bilirakis, you know, the president and CEO or president of operations for the Rays. It's so frustrating. And, you know, after the fact, we say, God, I wish we had more people. But I think that's part of our struggle, is to get more people involved from the community. So, yeah, we're definitely working towards that. Maybe we have too many events.
Well, I mean, that's a consideration. I was curious about the marketing, the sort of, you know how on social media, I happen to fancy Facebook. I know there's other, you know, venues that people use, social media, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. But on Facebook, sometimes when the events are published, it's like a little bit wonky and outdated, the way that I think the way that it posts. So you click on it and then it takes you to a calendar item on the website, and then similarly with the email system. So I was like, I wonder if they have, and I've looked at the financials, so I know there might not be money for that, but like updating some of the IT web kind of infrastructure
So
stuff.
to your point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but we are currently, because we feel the same frustration.
Yeah.
We look at the page counts, and there are so many pages on there that have so much outdated information. So
Yeah.
we're talking to our, it's called Chamber Master, who we use to handle all of our stuff.
Okay.
And we're looking at them to potentially do our website. Who around here has them? All the chambers use them for their websites.
the chamber.
Because ours is just antiquated, it's just outdated, and we feel the same frustration
Yeah, it's
that
a little outdated.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
then, I don't know if James wants to talk about the marketing component that
That would be great.
we actually have developed a task force of our board to look at marketing and how we can better, you know, measure our numbers, so.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too. Go ahead, James.
Sure. Good
Probably
evening,
answer
Council.
me.
James Poulter, CEO, Chichi Rodriguez Foundation, and current board chair for the Chamber. So thank you all for all that you do for us. In regards to your question about social media, at our last retreat, we did identify that that was an issue, and so we formed a task force. We've met recently over the past several months, and now we've actually partnered with a new partner to manage our social media. So you'll see a lot of those little things get cleaned up, and it'll be a lot more professional and a lot cleaner going forward. So yeah,
think that's a
happy to
great
walk
idea.
through that process. We met with 3 different vendors, came out with a plan, and picked one that we think is going to help us going forward.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And with marketing, I mean, I know the data's there because we're all there at most events, but I'm curious if you guys are tracking, and I know you keep the financials and everything, but I'm curious if you guys are tracking, for example, of those 14 ribbon cuttings, how many of them were in Oldsmar? Or when we have, you know, an event, is it second or first Friday, you know, how many of those people setting up booths? Or how did they hear about it? How are we getting those people coming? Are they from Oldsmar? Are we putting on events that Oldsmar folks are attending? Just that kind of data would be really great if you guys are going to start tracking like page counts and where, you know, IP addresses and visits to the website and where you're getting that kind of data would be
I
really
didn't
great.
bring it tonight, but I printed it out. I
Oh,
didn't
really?
want to overwhelm you, but our 4 big page hits are the events that I told you about.
The events
Oktoberfest,
calendar.
That's far and away the biggest traffic that we have
Yeah.
on the web. And I think, I don't know the terminology exactly, but we are going to be are we working with the Beacon on doing some geofencing to
nice.
data collect and find out and actually steal people from Tarpon Springs events, you know, and things like that.
Well, it was
And
really
Safety Harbor.
interesting. Joe DeRing and Empower Adventures, when they came to give their kind of annual presentation at, I think it was 2 meetings ago, they had, you know, the SEO content, and their marketing gal had tons of data on where they were getting customers from. And I know it's not apples to apples, but you know, there are some resources out there that I think would provide some additional transparency that people would love to see. I think
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
fantastic.
we know that we can do, you know, going forward, I think we're going to do a better job with that monthly reporting from the partners that we're working with too. You know, I do a lot of regional stuff, so I see stuff that's going on in Tampa, St. Pete.
Sure.
You know, we can get there. We're not far away. I mean, we've been very active through COVID. I think that's something that we didn't really touch on, but we were one of the most active chambers, you know, from March of 2020 on, and we've grown our membership. That hasn't come down. It's gone up, so.
Very cool. Thank you. Those were my big questions. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Councilmember Knapp?
Mayor, thank you. Just one kind of piggybacking on that as far as like looking forward and what the future holds. I think it's really great as far as what you've done to help retain businesses as well as attract new ones. And I know as deals are kind of in the works and you may not be at liberty to disclose anything, is there anything you can project or anticipate as future recruitment or retention projects for the upcoming year?
I'll tell you, but we'd have to kill you.
A few things, I think we listed them in the report anyway, that I know that we can talk about a little bit about now anyway, but even going forward from, when you go all the way backwards, we could, start right at the beginning from the penny for Pinellas with Herod, okay, and start working our way back down. Doug says that, we helped him sell the building, through people, and again, when we did that, we could have put, well, not could have put, it's, interested parties, but we were gunning for business people to come in there, manufacturers to come in there and fill that spot behind them after that vacancy left. And we think that's gonna happen. That's what we're working to and towards, so that not only did that business sell, it sold to a manufacturing business that will now come into the area and replace them. So we don't, have a void there, I mean, nothing against it, but it's not gonna be a ball city party place or something, a kid's place, there you go, which you may like, but sorry. And also with that too, we currently work on things, I think we also put it in there. We had talked about a few times, because as we take tours of the city and everything, we go to places that aren't filled, that are land, and things that, what's the spaces that are available. And the Argos property has came up, a cement plant that's been there, concrete plant that's been there for years and years and years. Really gears up very, not frequently at all. Actually, they have to do it once a year just for their permitting.
so they don't go vacant.
Right, so they can maintain their permit and everything else, so they make sure it's usable, they crank it up and everything, go from there. But due to that, because it is what it is, and I know through my business that they're going through a period right now where they're divesting some properties and everything, because I do business with them in some other areas where they've divested properties. So I reached out to the people that I knew and got in touch with their real estate department there and asked them potentially, or let them know that if they wanted to divest that property here, that, you had interested parties, and that's something they might want to look at since they were going through that process. If it's something that's just gotten old for them, or they were going to sell it anyway, maybe they can pair that off. So things like that, that's a good, I think it's just over 5 acres,
Yeah,
that
you're
they can
talking
use
about
there.
the one that's right next to Holloway Funeral Home,
Yeah,
Pine
back in there.
Avenue?
Correct.
Yeah, the giant
Correct,
stack,
right.
yeah. A lot of
And that
people
would come
forget
down, and
that's
then that
there.
could also be, turned into again, that'd come to zoning and everything else, but it's manufacturing, right now, it's commercial zoning right now, so it's, dependent on if you wanted to keep it that way or what we're gonna do, then we could place businesses in there as well. But that's something that we definitely would help bring up that part of the community and that part of that manufacturing effort over there as well. So certain things like that we'll continue to work with, and then as other things come up, we can't do too much with it until these problems come up or properties come up or businesses come and ask, and that's what we're doing with the county too. We wanted a tighter relationship with the county, so we knew what businesses were looking, and they tell us, they said, hey, Google's looking. Well, I know we're not getting Google, but at least we're being told, whereas before we couldn't do that, so they're making us aware of those things, and we've got a seat at the table now to talk to those people and see who we want to bring in and see who's going to be a good fit.
Well, and I can tell you this too. I was going to say, one of the things we did with Scott Talcott, and Felicia was there, was we drove around the city and did basically a window tour of the city to find out, where vacant land was, where properties are that might not be on the, public knowledge that are available. And I can tell you this, I met with Edmunds, Quality Thin Films, back in the day, and when Edmunds was buying them out, Edmunds was looking at not staying here because their current building was flooding. Those have been addressed through, modifications to Douglas Road and things like that, but they were scared to death that they were gonna, put all this money into, this company, and then they're gonna flood everything out. And so, we reassured them that, where they're going is gonna be a great building. Another one was strictly through relationships, was our relationship with Nielsen and kind of being in touch with them, and as well as Sunbelt Staffing, Ken Kistner, who's on our board, and communicating with him and being able to get them not only into a whole floor of Nielsen over there, keeping them here in Oldsmar, but they're ready to expand almost to a whole nother floor because of the growth that they're experiencing. So not directly answering your question, but we do have that relationship with Pinellas County so that we can be on the know. They kind of like to hold things close to their vest sometimes because they don't want to know, like the Harrods thing or, stuff like that. But
And I think to kind of answer your question a little bit, strategically, our goals for this year is to grow membership to around 550 members. We don't want to have 1,000 members. We don't want this big crazy chamber that doesn't have those relationships in place. One of the areas that we're going to target is manufacturing. So, you cross over the street and you just see hundreds, thousands of businesses back there that we can tap into and help and support. So one of the things we've done actually is partner with BAMA, so Bay Area Manufacturers Association. We now have a reciprocal membership with them. So we're going to be attending more of their events to meet those people. Not to say that engineers and manufacturers aren't social, but getting them out to engage in other things is, one of my
Company
goals.
excluded.
Totally excluded.
Now you say so.
Hey, I was an engineer, I know.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things that we're looking at too is with the West Shore Alliance. They do a lot of great work over in Tampa. I've been over there and met with the team over there, and I think they could help us going forward with some of the plans that we have in Oldsmar too.
And we recently started a relationship with the Hillsborough County Commission. We've never really had one with them, so, they're an important component to us for regional economic development, so.
Sure.
It's a long answer, but.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Thank
answered
you.
it a little bit.
Okay,
That's all I had.
Vice Mayor?
I thought it was a great presentation. Appreciate it. First time seeing it and great,
Yeah, and if you
great
ever
job.
want to know what the chamber does, just stop by and, we have cookies sometimes, leftover beer, so.
Yeah, and I think to Doug and Jason's point, it isn't just, Doug, Mark, and Joe. And not to say that they're wonderful people, great people. We have a great board of directors now that really helps pull the wagon up the hill with a lot of great experience from all different sectors and businesses from all over the region. So we're here to help.
Anything else, Vice Mayor? Councilmember Graber?
Oh, no questions. I appreciate the presentation that outlining the economic impacts and using the impact calculator. I thought that was really important to see.
It's interesting. And I was somewhat conservative, to be honest with you, on the numbers, so.
Right, but I mean, I know that tool's there, so I was certainly appreciative to see that. But you're right about relationships, establish, build, maintain, right? If we didn't move out to other regions of the area, then people wouldn't know. So if people do have a need or a want to move somewhere else, or if they can open a third store like you had mentioned about Express Lube, another business would say, no, they've got this great chamber, it's based in Oldsmar. And they've been doing all of this work and they have all of these events. As you had mentioned before, how somebody had commented how well those events go over. I'm a child of a truck salesman who ran his chamber as well. And so when I started getting to know all of you and seeing the work that you have done, I just wanted to say thank you for not only the business community relationships, but the community as a whole. You can tell that it's twofold. It's not just supporting the businesses, it's making sure that the citizens have somewhere to go as well with all the different events that you hold. So just wanted to say that. No further questions.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Katie Gannon actually answered my questions for me, but great job and thank you. And I think
You answered them for him.
Yes, she asked them for me. She took care of it. All right.
Usually do.
You might not want to leave because you might have to come back or might have to come back up on you're on the next item. But the next item on the agenda is City Attorney Tom Trask. He has the night off.
Yes, I do.
Well done, Tom.
And next item on the agenda is our city manager, Felicia Donnelly, and she'd like to make an announcement.
So first of all, I wanted to thank former Councilmember Linda Norris for the thoughtful award that you have given to our staff. I can't impress enough thanks to our Oldsmar City employees. They really work tirelessly under a lot of pressure to ensure the safety of our community. We simply can't have a better staff. We should all be very thankful for them. And then the second thing I wanted to do was to introduce the new Assistant City Manager, Tracy Miller. She is sitting over there in the audience. So
Exciting.
Her first day was last Monday. So
yeah.
Great.
So she went through a different experience from most people's onboarding experience, spending EOC time with 100 of her future coworkers. So thank you, Tracy, and we hope that we welcomed you with open hospitality.
And peanut butter and jelly.
So next to my item, number 13, is the consideration of the Business Assistance Partnership Agreement with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce for FY 2022-23. The current Business Assistant Partnership Agreement with the Upper Tampa Bay Regional Chamber of Commerce commenced on October 1st, 2021, and expired on September 30th, 2022. This agenda item proposes to enter into a similar agreement with the Chamber for the period of 1 year, beginning October 1st, 2022. The purpose of this agreement is for the Chamber to provide a business assistance partnership program and to support the City of Oldsmar in its economic development efforts. The allocated amount for this agreement has been $15,000 since 2011. The Upper Tampa Bay Chamber has requested an increase to $34,000 as per the attached letter. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, with that, would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, let's open it up for discussion. Councilmember Graber, would you like to start? Anything you want to bring up?
Nothing for me, Mayor, thank
How
you.
about Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I have a few things. Look, I completely understand what you guys do, and I appreciate everything that you guys do. But when I look at the dollars that you want us to add into this, where do you see that being returned to the city of Oldsmar over the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see that at all?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, why don't you come up, because I think there's going to be some questions.
Yeah, that's fine, absolutely. I think it's twofold. I think you have to look at it in a few different ways, at least I look at it in a few different ways. One is not to go back too much in the history, not to dodge your question, but in the beginning, when this program started with Pinellas County, Dr. Cynthia Johnson actually came up with the program, and it was a way for the county to help engage the other cities and everything else as well, and they subsidized by $15,000 the way that was, and the city would subsidize $15,000, which would allow $30,000 to go ahead and have that program going. So it was a subsidy. The county dropped that after 3 years, I believe it was, and so the chamber has been subsidizing the other part of that for that remainder amount of time. So everything and we've become more and more refined with it, obviously, but that's what the agreement's been for that period of time until now, is that $15,000. The county's still, not doing it at this point, and for the fact that if we stuck to what the agreement was even prior to this, with only 16 hours, having one employee for 16 hours, as you can see, we work way more than 16 hours just with the one employee that's designated, that's supposed to do that. They do more than that alone, much less the time that the other employees put in and the board puts in and everything as well. So we just think for the value of it is, as you can see in the letter and everything, that's an average of an economic development personnel and, for the state of Florida. Taking that at just the 16 hours a week, which is how that was figured, comes to that total. So to have that and have the people of the chamber behind it and everything else for that matter, that's how we came up with it. So in the past and going forward, we'll still be engaged as much as we were yesterday and more tomorrow, the more we can find things to get into.
Okay, thank you. And are there any other cities that have BAPs with you guys?
No.
So it's just Oldsmar contributing?
That's correct.
Okay. I took an opportunity to go through your numbers, and I'm a little bit off based on Doug's presentation. When I look at the membership, you showed about 159 listings in Oldsmar. I think it was 162 on Doug's presentation. That's only 30% of your membership in Oldsmar.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I looked at the total business licenses in Oldsmar, we've got about 1,130 licenses in
Correct.
Oldsmar. It's only 10% are chamber members.
Correct.
So why should we increase that money when we don't see really the businesses being a part of the chamber and supporting the chamber here locally in the area?
Well, every business is not going to become part of the chamber. We wish we could have all 1,100 of them, and that'd be fine. And if you're trying to touch and reach everybody out there, then all the more reason that you have to be involved with us at the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber. Because when we do these programs, when we talk about the BAP agreement, when we do We Mean Business, we reach out to not only chamber members, but non-chamber members. We're not bringing in revenue and bringing revenue back in from Penny for Pinellas or, the government subsidies for just our members. It's for everybody. And you can see it's substantial. So we still work with those people in order to do that, which comes directly back into Oldsmar. We'd love them to be members, but really we do the work for them one way or the other, and that might be part of the problem.
Okay. That's all the questions I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Gannon?
I have a couple of thoughts. I am one of my initial questions, of course, is related to. It's not a question for you guys. Sorry, this is more like discussion. According to the BAP, we have the right to audit and look at financial records for the chamber. I'm not sure whether or not that has happened, but of course you know me, so I did. Because they are a a tax exempt organization, and so all of their IRS returns, all of those 990s are available online dating back to 2005. And the reason I looked this up and it was important to me is because I think there's this sort of idea that there's this money being generated at these large events, right? Oktoberfest and Oldsmar Days and nights, and they're keeping all of this money, and what's happening to all this money, and where's it going, and what are we as citizens getting for the chamber hosting certain events? And quite frankly, no offense, guys, I was a little shocked to learn how little is earned at these various events. And it's been brought up, perhaps we should have, a take of the alcohol sales, or we should discontinue the practice of waiving the special event permit fees so that, we're not giving them a place to, host these large events. I wouldn't be in favor of that, of course, because they're largely seen as the city of Oldsmar putting on the event. Of course, we get the credit, but we don't have to take on any of the insurance liabilities, the cost of putting on the event, the organizational nightmare that it would be to volunteer and staff the event, run the event. For example, and again, this is all available on ProPublica. If you like Charity Navigator, there's a lot of different websites that provide it, or you can just go on the IRS website. But for example, I did some math. So fiscal year ending 2019, Oldsmar Days gross receipts, $83,000. But once you take away all of the expenses, rent, facility, food, beverage, entertainment, and other direct expenses, you're sitting at about $40,000. So, 15% of that, I mean, it becomes kind of a conversation of, what is the goal? So is the goal to make sure every business is a member of the chamber? Or is the goal to make sure that the chamber is putting on events for our citizens? Is it citizen-based? Is it economic development-based? And so I wrestled with this, back and forth. And sort of the bottom line for me came out of actually an economic development workshop that we had over the course of 2 separate days 3 or 4 years ago over at the Hampton Inn, where we did the SWOT analysis and we kind of worked together with all of the different businesses to create a vision of what we wanted economic development to look like in our city. And what became apparent is that it had to be all of those things. It had to be local buy-in from residents. It had to be overlap with other cities so that other people come to our city and we go to other people's, cities as well to experience what they have to offer. But it has to be bigger than just what's here in Oldsmar for Oldsmar or Oldsmar businesses. And that's kind of what I see coming out of the BAP agreement and the repair to the relationship that the city has had with the chamber. And that repair, I think, has been ongoing for about a decade or so. Excuse me. One of the biggest things, I know the FERPA calculator is amazing in showing the economic impact when it's widely used and locally created. Thank you very much. But the Florida Recreation Parks Association, they created that calculator so that you could monetize or show the economic impact of certain events that you wouldn't normally be able to do. And that's wonderful. I love that. I love money coming into the city. What I love more, though, is a new company building the building that was going to be vacant because of Harrods. I love seeing that those ad valorem dollars, once they get their certificate of occupancy, are coming right here, because the bottom line is that's one component of it, right? So if there's an extra $100,000 coming in as ad valorem into the general fund, then that's one more point that we don't have to raise the millage rate, because 1 mil, right? $100,000. And so when I look at the balancing of the interest between, what our residents are interested in, well, keeping their taxes the same, having a lot of things locally to do, having great local businesses, places to go, a mix of potential employers, or at least a mix of businesses, maybe it's north of Tampa Road, maybe it's, a little east, a little west, that actually provides a cushion when there's an economic downturn. And so we don't end up with, the sort of crisis if the housing market collapses, right? So people stop buying homes and everybody's home values drop, and then, then we're stuck in a tax. That's the last time essentially that we had to adjust the millage rate. But that doesn't happen here because of the business component, because so much of our ad valorem dollars come from commercial properties in our city. And to me, I don't see it as a city employee role to develop that level of relationships with local business. First, I don't know how it could be done from the ground up to the extent that that network has been created. And I don't necessarily see it as a city function. While we're, of course, in favor of economic development, we can't put on the kinds of events for our citizens and do the kind of business retention work that the chamber does. Another piece of it that's important for me, honestly, it does feel like, Second Friday is a city event. It feels like Oldsmar Days is a city event. It feels like Celebrate Oldsmar is a city event. And it's not. We get a lot of credit for providing maybe the land space and maybe some sort of competent volunteers every once in a while, but
We appreciate that.
yeah, we try. But we get a lot of credit for that, and we don't organize any of it. And I think our city staff is pretty grateful that they're not out there flipping burgers and dogs still, and cleaning up the park. What is it, $1,700 a year for each of the 11 years that it wasn't increased, considering that this is a services agreement, and we're not asking, for example, our Duro Group for their financials or what their impact is. The services agreement is there, the terms of it are there, our rights are there and clear, and we can approve it or not approve it according to those terms. But to me, the return on investment that we get from the business assistance program has been worth it. And I would be in favor of continuing it forward with the increase. I would like to see, as I mentioned during some of my questions when we were going over the presentation, a little bit more transparency into the numbers. I know that perhaps that data can be collected if there's a little bit more work done on the back end of social media, website tracking. I would love to see, if it's in the cards, an updated website. Maybe some, I don't know what email server that they use is, but like a little bit of a more modern email system feels, so that when you get an invitation, perhaps that marketing component could really be worked on. But I would like to sort of find out those numbers that Doug was talking about, because I want to see a little bit more data, a little more transparency into exactly what the impact is for Oldsmar residents, perhaps attending events. Like, I see you there and I see you there. I know we're all there, but I want to know just a little bit more if it's available. So those are my thoughts. I know it's lengthy, but I figured it would obviate certain questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Gannon. Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you. I've got one question for them. Kind of going back to the history of how the county originally was assisting and subsidizing the program at the inception, and then kind of dropping out after a little bit of time. Has that request ever formally been made to re-examine that or revisit it to consider subsidizing like every year?
No, I have done that, and, just recently, we thought maybe that's something to bring back up, so, we're hoping that's something that they'll consider, and, like Councilmember Buckman was saying, I don't know that we couldn't do the same thing with Hillsborough or whatever, not talk to, to put that on you guys with it, but I don't know what's out there with things, but first would be, first is our, City of Oldsmar here, and what we have to do here, and then we'll, work with Pinellas County as well to see if that's something they want to bring back up at some point in time. And I think the more we're involved and the more we are doing with them, the more we're giving it credibility that maybe they would want to do, step back in with us. So we're hopeful.
Sorry, I'll just add, I don't exactly remember who I heard it from, but I did hear rumblings that the county, Pinellas County, is looking at maybe resurrecting the BAP program in some way, shape, or form. So I'm not sure, but we certainly are beating that bush to see if we can get some.
Good. I mean, that's something I would really hope to see, that they, especially after the big project, Windfall, kind of the first of its kind in the area, that they could, use that as a convincing factor to say, hey, maybe we get back into this.
I think that might be one of the factors of why they're looking at it.
Okay, good. Just some additional commentary. As it's been said, I think what they've done so far has been fantastic. And I think just alone that if, as I kind of tried to pry from them information about what's to come, just alone, if that Argos, and this is hypothetical essentially, if that Argos property were to be successfully redeveloped, that alone would probably pay for the increase in what we're seeing now versus what the chamber is requesting, and then some. I mean, there's a lot of activity, the West Chase, I think it's West Chase CrossFit had just moved there, and a neighbor now, so there's kind of this budding workout community that's kind of growing right there. So I think it goes beyond just our borders here in the city of Oldsmar. They used to be Oldsmar Chamber of Commerce, right? But now they're Upper Tampa Bay Regional Chamber of Commerce. I think it's appropriate to not be thinking of being so insular about it's just Oldsmar. We have neighbors, we have friends that live outside our city limits. We're going to and from. So to kind of just be so focused about just what's happening here is maybe, putting too much weight in that. At the same time, I think that, there are members that are benefiting from all that you do, but there are also businesses that either for good or unknown reasons aren't members that are probably still benefiting from the activities of this chamber. And so there's probably some immeasurable stuff there that you can't quite capture because non-members are still getting benefits, and you're not going to ever see that. So I think that's just something else to take into consideration.
And if I could answer, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
If I could answer your question about data collection that we were talking about,
Yeah.
I'm going to get with Mayor Seidel, because I worked with him when he was looking to put in that F-45. And I can tell you, these things are incredible data collectors. So I know that there's a way that we can find out where the phones are that are at Oldsmar Days, or where the phones are that are at Celebrate Oldsmar, and where they originated from. I know the TDC does a lot of data collection by the things that are on here. It's just kind of scary, but we'll definitely look into that to see if we can source where everybody's from.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, go ahead.
I say, just to add to Katie's comments, thanks for doing the homework in regards to the financial situation. We balance the budget. These funds help us balance that budget for Oldsmar, and Oldsmar isn't in the event. The city isn't in the events business. So that's the arm of the chamber that helps with that for the whole community, not just businesses.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at net income for fiscal year ending 2019. The net income for the chamber was $14,400.
Yeah. So it's balanced, but it's tight.
We're
And
not,
so-
yeah, I mean, we're not talking like,
Yeah,
Mark
and-
Howe's not buying a new car.
And the net
Like-
from those events, the net from those events don't include staff time, right? So
Yeah,
that's-
oh yeah.
That-
And,
that's-
and
that's-
this is all public information. And again, I understand that this is a services contract and we don't, ask for it. We have the right to audit it. But I wanted to bring it up because it's a question that I've been asked. And so let's just talk
Yeah,
about
and
it.
I don't want to drag it out, but just to give you an example, because you brought up like the beer, a portion of the beer sales or this or that.
Yeah.
The reason that we still have $5 beers, which you're not going to find anywhere else, the reason we have no admission at events and things like that when we do things is because of this. When I first came on to the chamber, that's one of the questions I asked, which is, what do we expect? What are we doing? Are we you're trying to make all sorts of money. Do we have to put money in the bank, or are we giving it back to the community? So that's what we continue to do. It may not be directly, hey, here's $5, which we do a lot of times, but a lot of it is with the free events or the cheaper, food items or the cheaper beer items or whatever it may be. We still have, unfortunately, we argue about this all the time, we have the lowest rate for our membership out of any chamber really in the state of Florida, okay? And for everything that we do, well, we do that because, again, we're there to help. We're there to do these things. We're there for the community and everything. So we try to keep those things as low as we can for them. So we'll explain kind of the net there.
And as you look through the numbers, I can tell you this, you saw how tight they are. One failed event, and we are,
Well, yeah, I mean, the IRS
Right
doesn't
now,
have up
right?
the 2020, year ending 2020.
Yeah.
Because of COVID
No,
and
I'm not.
everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know, everybody suffered
no, you're
that
not.
year.
I'm not.
All right.
Just
More
kind of
comment.
a little additional commentary, just to kind of wrap it up. I think, as I pointed out with that Argos thing, that's one opportunity. I think all of us up here would agree, there's still a lot of opportunity within our city limits, definitely with outside our city limits, that would be where the chamber can help impact. I mean, we know from years ago, the horse track was all hot and heavy, ready to go for development over there. I'm sure that's still something that is kind of off in the distance, but certainly opportunity there, and there's more to come. There's still other vacant land that could be developed for other businesses or redeveloped. So, I mean, having them as a partner to seek out those opportunities and kind of shepherd them home is something that, as they pointed out, we can't do, Felicia and staff can't do. They've got a lot of other things going on. So, thank you, Mayor.
And to your point, I can add this. While we may reach beyond the boundaries of the city of Oldsmar, this is our primary focus. We're not doing windshield drives through Palm Harbor. We're not doing windshield drives through West Chase. We're not, we
Citrus Park, yeah.
specifically focused on Oldsmar and the property in Oldsmar. And I can't remember the manufacturer, but they have another 4 acres. It's the, what is their name? They make all the machinery, how it was made back there on, not Marlboro, but they're back in there. Anyway, they have a big piece of property that is ripe for development.
Oh, Osgood?
Osgood. yeah.
Osgood,
Osgood,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't think of that, so. We have
Anything
that.
else?
That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
I have a couple things. First of all, I want to thank you for your hard work that you do for the city of Oldsmar. I think what you guys do with We Mean Business on the Fridays when we do that, I think that's really successful. I really get a lot out of that. I think some of the things that you do for when you took over Oldsmar Days, I think that was a monkey off the back for the city of Oldsmar. A couple things, though, the city of Oldsmar still pays for the fireworks for that. That's still funded through the city. But I think that for the first year that you took it over, I really felt that you guys did a really good job with that. You do a lot of good things in the community, but I have a couple questions. The increase of was it $16,000? What is that for? It's going from 15 to 34. What is that increase?
Correct. Well, it's all the terms within the BAP agreement. I mean, it's the same agreement that we had before. Like I said, the easy way to look at it is we're doing the same thing going forward here that we did yesterday and last year and the year before. So we're going to be doing the same things, same procedures. That is strictly, instead of the chamber subsidizing that right now and everything else, we're asking the city to go ahead and bring that to a reasonable term.
Okay. One of the things that Councilmember Gannon said, which I thought was really important, is the marketing and the statistics. I feel that sometimes the marketing for the chamber isn't as great as it should be. I don't know if you remember when we did the Centennial, the place was packed. I know that your events are crowded, but I think that needs to be improved. That's one of the options that I see. And then the other thing was, she mentioned the financials. I think I would like to see your financials in the future I think that's something important to see for especially for me, because to me, this is a lot of money. This is taxpayers funded money that's going to the chamber, which you said is a great opportunity. Katie just mentioned that you made $40,000 on one event, which I think is a lot of money personally. I think that's great. I don't know what you made on the Oktoberfest, but that's a huge event for you guys. There's got to be profit made there. I appreciate you guys keeping the beer prices low. I think that's important for attendance and getting people involved in the city. I think that's a good thing. All in all, I think personally, I would like to see some of these improvements done first before we actually approve that extra funding. I do agree on the $15,000, but I almost like to bring this back to council later on another date, after I see some more progress at the chamber level, as far as marketing and what you guys are doing to bring membership in, what you just said, so those kind of things. But all in all, personally, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I just think there's minor improvements that need to be done, just those minor things that we're talking about, marketing, financials, and some other information. And Doug, if you want to say something, go ahead.
I just want to say, I don't want to mix the two things together, but those aren't part of the BAP. The things that you're asking for aren't part of the BAP. You know, statistics and marketing and things like that. So this is really just for the BAP. And as you mentioned and indicated, it's to be paired, for the chamber to be compensated fairly for the efforts and work that they put in, as if you guys had to do it.
Yeah, I understand.
And I'm not saying we're not going to give you that information, but those aren't anything that's in the BAP.
Right.
Yeah, I think with, we're always looking to grow and do, better things in advance, every day. And fortunately, you've been on council and mayor long enough to see where, you say you want to see some advancement, you want to see some changes. Where have we come from 5 years ago when Jerry Beaverland stood up here and said, why are we doing anything with the chamber? Why are we paying them anything? What do they do for us?
No, I agree. I've known Mark since, 1997, 6?
Don't worry about Mark.
I mean, I've been involved in the chamber, been a member since 99, so I know all about that.
Yeah. Well, no, I know, but what I'm just saying with that, like, you want to see advancement. I think you have seen advancement over the past 5 years. I think we've done, a lot to show advancement over the last 5 years before we asked for this, before we had this conversation, And, your decision is your decision. I'm fine with whatever you want to come up with, but I think that's hopefully what we've been laying the groundwork for, even just go back a year, for the past year with what we've done. And, last time for that. So hopefully that shows you advancement and shows you that, we're serious about working with the city of Oldsmar. We're serious about the economic development and, serious about keeping everything healthy and moving forward. So hopefully everybody sees it that way.
Yeah, and from my standpoint, obviously balanced budgets, important to me, balanced budgets, and also our expenses have gone up. Everybody's expenses have gone up. Inflation, and that, I don't see that. I'm not an economic guy, hugely economic guy, but I don't see that changing anytime soon. So a lot of these things that we've got in place, that funding allows us to continue our mission. If we weren't to get that amount of funding, we would have to evaluate as a board, what we can focus on, what our focuses are going to be on going forward for the rest of this year, and then going forward into next year.
Well, keep up the good work. I appreciate everything you do. So that's all I have. Anybody else have anything else they would like to bring? Okay, more discussion?
Can I just,
Yes, Vice Mayor?
my concern, obviously, I'm not against the chamber. I don't want that coming off this way. I don't want to cause any damage to the relationship. But when I look at the taxpayer dollars being spent here and the increase of the taxpayer dollars, when I've had discussions with the city manager about bringing economic development into the city, it's not to replace the chamber. It's to work with the chamber, but when we're sitting at that table, we have Oldsmar 100% in mind, not the entire region. That's why I wanted to look at it that way and say, hey, if we're going to continue to increase this cost, why not bring our own resource in to the city that can work directly with the chamber and have Oldsmar's concerns? The other part to this is, you're asking for this $18,000. A simple increase to your businesses of $100 is another $53,000. So I know you guys can find a way to find the money. You guys are very good at that. I just can't see adding another $18,000 at this point when the services have already been there.
Well, I understand that if we want the businesses to pay for the city's economic development, we can easily do that. If, the businesses, I don't think, are responsible for that. They pay for that with their ad valorem taxes and everything else that they do within the city as it is. So, I mean, this is a hand-to-hand partnership. I know it's hard. It's hard to separate the chamber from events, from what we do for the city and everything else. But this is what supposedly is a dedicated person for 16 hours a week, for 16 hours a week to work on economic development for the city. You know, quite frankly, for 16 hours a week, if that's all we did, we're not scratching the surface on what needs to be done for Oldsmar, or at least what has been done for Oldsmar. And to keep everything healthy and happy and the way we feel it is here in Oldsmar with that and the, you know, with the business community, you know, we think it's well worth it. You can absolutely bring somebody in to help with that and bring somebody in that's part of the city for that. That's, you know, I get it. You know, that's a consideration. There's no doubt about it. I think you'd still need or want us involved as well, you know, with that because of, you know, our history and what we know. But if you had somebody, you know, that's, I get it.
And I think that goes back to an immediate impact today. And if the city was to bring an economic development person in, it's going to take them time to get up to speed to actually really make an impact. Whereas you've got people that have been around the chamber for a long time that already have those relationships that can make things happen today, now, this year, the next 12 months.
No.
Mayor? Anything else?
That's it.
Yes,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Councilmember Knapp, you got the floor.
May I ask a question? Not, sorry to put you on the spot, Felicia, but if we were to have somebody that would function in a similar capacity to what the chamber does, what would that cost the city approximately?
Councilmember Knapp, I'm not sure. I can tell you that economic development specialist or, you know, I'm probably 70,000 for a full-time position, not including benefits. So when you start talking about benefits, you're probably talking, you know, 100 grand for somebody to do it if we could, you know, about. I mean, and I haven't looked at today's current. I haven't looked at today's job market.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
all I
I
have.
don't think that's the issue. I don't think the issue is the city wants to hire somebody for economic development. I don't think, for me, that's not the issue. I think you guys are doing great. I don't feel that amount of the taxpayers' money increase. I don't think that's fair to the taxpayers. Because I think you guys are doing a great job as you are. As Katie mentioned, $40,000 for one event. I would love to see those 990s for the other events or the 2020 tax roll. I'd love to see that stuff. I want to see that, but that's where I'm at. Okay?
And that's why we try to show some of the ad valorem taxes
Right.
and everything too. As these businesses come in and they do that as a result of the economic development, that's coming right into the city. So
Right.
we're hoping that covers it. That's the direct impact we try to show you so you can offset what that is.
You know, and I don't know if this is a right answer or question for you guys, but your logo even says West Chase, Citrus Park, Town and Country. Those are all in Hillsborough.
Absolutely.
Is there any way that you get any funding from them at all? I know Vice Mayor brought that up. Is there anything that?
I will say it again, no,
Okay.
none.
All right, then that's all. Okay, the motion, go ahead, Councilmember Gannon.
Sorry, I just wanted to bring one thing up. The reason that I brought up the amount of the net from that one event was to show that event generates a substantial sum of their entire fiscal year budget. It was not to show that they're making that much money off of a particular event. It's just that event makes up that portion of their budget, and then that budget money is then used to fund all of the other activities of the chamber. I didn't want that to be misconstrued, because really the net income of $14,000 tells me that if I want to see a chamber that has better marketing, if I want to see a chamber that has a better website, better outreach, if I want to see more data and statistics, if I want to see more events, then there's a funding need there to do that. And I think it is in the city's interest for this. You know, I was listening to the meeting while I was absent, and I heard it said, you know, well, that sounds like a chamber function. And it's interesting to me that there's a desire for certain things to be chamber functions, and yet there's an unwillingness to fund it. I think that's an issue. And at the same time, you know, I know that there had been a lot of politics involved in the past year. I hope we're all working to put those things aside and consider things on their merits. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, let me add, this is, Doug, I like you, man. This is not against you. I want that on the record. This is not against you. This is not against the chamber. Okay, you are my opponent. This is not against you at all, right? This is looking at an additional $18,000 for services we're already getting. If my lawn guy came to me and said, hey, you've been doing it for 10 years for $20 a month, I'm gonna increase it to $200 a month, I would probably fire him, find somebody else, right? Now, we can't do that. We need you guys. I understand that. But it's a significant increase, right? Why wasn't there an increase asked for when Pinellas County dropped you guys? Where was that asked after the 3-year cancellation, right? So there's a lot of questions that are sitting here. This is not political. This isn't political posturing. This is simply, we're taking $18,000 of our citizens' money, giving it to the chamber. I understand what we're getting in return. If it was a $2,000 or $3,000 increase, I get it. Do we need to rewrite the agreement and maybe say, hey, we'll just cover expenses? I've looked at other chamber agreements with cities. They're out there. There are other ways that we could structure this that makes better sense. Maybe we need to talk about that. I just want to open the door for those discussions.
Yeah, I appreciate your statement, and we agree, so thank you. But yeah, also with the agreement and everything, it's, if you think there has to be something done, I mean, I appreciate that you guys do have these questions and we get to have this discussion, because we don't get to have this with you, on a normal basis, on a day-to-day basis. If you weren't asking these questions, I'd be more concerned. So we don't mind the questioning at all.
Yeah, and just another note, we have committed to meet with, I have committed to meet with Felicia every other week, in regards to updating and that line of communication. So if you feel like there's not enough communication, maybe I'm throwing us under the bus, but, maybe we could present in 6 months' time, and give an update on some of those other metrics that you were looking at, if we continue to go ahead and move forward
As
with
president,
it.
I think it'd be great.
So.
For you.
Do you think that the board would be willing to look at alternative, like, okay, let's take this year and put it to the side. If Vice Mayor Buckman had some sample agreements for other cities or different ways to structure it or something like that, do you think you guys would be interested in looking at something like that? Is that a possibility because this is only for a year?
For 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can discuss what other options that are out there, I mean, I think the board, talking for the whole board, but we would be open to discussion.
There were changes to this agreement that
Yeah.
the city put in.
That the city put in, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else? All right, the motion on the floor is the allocated amount for this agreement has been $15,000 since 2011. The Upper Tampa Chamber of Commerce has requested an increase to $34,000 per the attached letter. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye.
Aye. That's 3-2.
Passed 3-2. Next item on the agenda is item 14, adopt resolution 2020, which will be held, taken care of by our city manager, Felicia Donnelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Adopt Resolution 2022-20, revising personnel policies and procedures. Under the current emergency pay policy, operational management employees, administrators, assistant department directors, and supervisors who are paid on a salaried basis and exempt from additional pay under FLSA are currently paid at their regular hourly rate of pay for hours in excess of 40 hours per week, commencing the third day of a declared state of emergency. Executive level employees, department heads and above, who are paid on the salaried basis and exempt from additional pay under FLSA are excluded from the emergency pay policy and do not receive compensation for additional hours worked during a declared state of emergency. Declared emergencies often require executive level employees to report to the city emergencies operations centers during the entire state of emergency to ensure the continuation and restoration of services, mainly safety, maintain safety, and fulfill the city's responsibility to its citizens. This policy change request is seeking to compensate executive level employees in the same manner as operational management employees at their regular hourly rate of pay for hours in excess of 40 hours per week during the time of a declared emergency. It is also seeking to commence the first day of the emergency for all exempt employees. The change will be effective on September 23rd, 2022. Non-exempt employees will continue to be paid at time and a half for hours of productive hours in excess of their normal work week. The recommended motion is to adopt Resolution 2022-20, revising Section 3.12, Emergency Pay of Personnel Policies and Procedures. I'll read the resolution by title only. Resolution 2022-20, a resolution of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, authorizing the city manager to revise the personnel policies and procedures, amending wage and pay plan, emergency pay, and providing for an effective date hereof.
Wonderful. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
All right, how about discussion on this item?
I'll start, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple quick points. After speaking with the city manager on this, I was rather surprised to see that we were kind of lacking relative to our other municipalities in the area. I think, me personally, I think it's unquestionable that our staff should be paid in times of need. Not that we expect or want things like this to happen with any sort of frequency. But when it does happen, I think they should be compensated for their additional efforts and not be doing it more or less as a necessity and volunteer type basis. So that's all I have on the subject.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go this way. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I also had a discussion with the city manager, and absolutely, we should be taking care of our staff. From a fiscal responsibility standpoint, once we declare an emergency, whether it's you, whoever may declare that, this will be reimbursed by FEMA. So there's a $0 budgetary impact to the
Exactly.
city, so.
Councilmember Graber?
Yeah, I echo everybody else's comments thus far. I was surprised that it wasn't in place. Once I learned about it, let's get it on the agenda, move forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Gannon?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm so glad that this was recognized. I appreciate the effective date of September 23rd, retroactive. And please thank Michelle for putting this together, this change in our policies and procedures kind of on the spot. Really appreciate that. And please send all of our thanks to the city staff and the management level folks, the supervisors, everybody who stuck it out for all of us. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I just want to say, yes, definitely, I've talked to Felicia. This needs to be in place. We need to pay our employees. And again, thank you for all your hard work in getting this done and getting everything else done you do. You're busier than me. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is City Clerk Ann Nixon.
Oh, I don't have anything.
Come on, nothing?
My show was earlier
You got the
tonight.
night off too.
You got any water left over there?
Yeah.
All right, all right. All right, City Council. There's two items on the agenda. We've got number 15, right? Am I right? Do I have the right order? Reschedule the council work session on town hall and open forum meetings. This is a new agenda item. And also item 16, discuss formalizing process for charity requesting donations from the city. I talked to Felicia today at my council meeting, and we would like to put these together at the workstation on October 27th. That's a Thursday at 2 p.m. And I need council to just approve it. Is that okay?
Just one sec. Okay, so we're gonna do the work session.
We're going to do the work session. I guess the only date we had, is that correct, Felicia? October 27th?
That's correct.
So October 27th is the only date that all five of us could get together, plus Tom and Felicia, I guess.
Okay.
So we're going to book
Thursday.
those together, item 15 and item 16 at that work session at 2 p.m., and we're going to do both.
Okay, so work session on the town hall and also to discuss the process for the charitable donation requests.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that would be better if we sit in a work session doing that. We all agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine with me.
I guess we.
Leave it up to the vice mayor
Yeah,
since
Vice
he
Mayor.
added it to the
No,
agenda.
I'm okay with it. I'm just looking at this. Shouldn't we reschedule the meeting first, then say we're gonna move 16 to that meeting? Or do you do them both at the same time?
It can be done either way.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just,
Okay.
it's
That's fine.
discussion. You know, it's just
Okay.
discussion.
Then,
Just need the right motion to.
Correct.
all right,
cover both.
hold on.
You got it?
Katie's got it.
I make a motion that we schedule the town hall and open forum meeting work session for October 27th, Thursday, October 27th at 2:00 p.m. And during that work session, we also consider agenda item number 16, discuss formalizing processes for charities requesting donations from the city.
I second that motion.
We had a motion and a second, all in favor?
Tom's
Oh, any other
nodding.
discussion?
Tom's nodding. It's good.
Yep, we're good?
Thumbs up.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Nothing, motion passes. Item 17, council comments, and today I'm giving Councilmember Graver the opportunity to go first.
Oh, wow, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. Again, as most people have mentioned today, it was a rough week. I won't discuss how I ended up in Naples, but I was in Naples during the storm, and it involved maybe my 4-year-old getting sick on the way down and my wife demanding us get a hotel on Monday when we thought the storm was going over us, and then we couldn't leave. So anyway, it was fun. Some people checked in. One member of the audience in hysterics was making sure that my wife and my family were okay. I think she also cared if I was too, I'm not sure, but we were. But just a huge thanks to the staff. I know at one point was it 97 people, and it was 150 people, and then folks couldn't leave because tropical storm winds were coming in. And just hearing how Felicia raved about everybody's efforts while we evacuated and you stayed, just a very heartfelt thanks from me. On a lighter note, a lot of fun stuff coming up. Gator Nationals this weekend. As Ann had mentioned, Second Friday's coming back. The Jolly Trolley Tour, which I'm understanding the tickets are selling out.
Almost, not yet.
So
Got
that's
a couple left.
That's going to be on the 15th. So just a lot of fun stuff as we move into the holidays that I'm hoping to see everybody out and about. But other than that, Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent. Next is Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I thank you guys for the short break, the little vacation. I can see a lot happen while I was gone. I came back on Sunday night to a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my sister said, "You better gather your insurance documents because there's a hurricane coming tomorrow." But I cannot express enough my thanks to city staff, the county, every piece of information that I received timely. I really want to encourage people to sign up for Alert Pinellas. The Ready Pinellas app is amazing. You get the notifications immediately. You sometimes find out information before they're even announcing it on the news. That app was fantastic, and because you don't necessarily need power to watch TV, if you have a cell phone and you have a portable battery charger or a wind-up radio to charge it, really great resource available. All that information is available on my oldsmar.com. It was a little bit worrisome to me that a lot of our residents did not evacuate. I will say in the past, I haven't necessarily been the first to be like, oh, okay, let's evacuate. No, it was more like yeah, it's not going to come this way. This time really frightened me. And I did evacuate. I am Zone A. And I want our residents to know that it's crucial. The sandbags are not enough. And if we had a storm surge, I don't want to think about where it would end up going to. If it was just Zone A or Zone B, I don't even want to think about it. All I want to know is that there's nobody in those houses. Because if after the fact we're trying to go from roof to roof with a boat that we have stationed at Mease Hospital ready to take you off your roof, it's absolutely terrifying. So please heed the recommendations to evacuate. City staff was beyond amazing. The list has been mentioned, and really, that's a really great list of understandable things that the average person can read and say, oh, yeah, the city staff did. They moved all the heavy equipment. I saw that video of the Naples fire truck, the water up to the sides, and they're pulling all the equipment off the Naples fire truck because now that aerial truck, that cool ladder truck, call the insurance company, but our citizens can kind of think like, okay, so the vac truck, those other trucks that I see, the lawnmowers, all that equipment gets evacuated, but that list definitely does not encompass everything that staff did to ready our buildings, everything for this storm. So really, really appreciate. And honestly, 2 days later, all of the medians were clean. My kids were back at the park. I don't even know how you guys did it. I don't know if you went to the park in the middle of the night or started vacuuming the streets in the middle of the night that night. The weather was nice enough for it. It was 75 degrees. But in any event, I really appreciate it. Councilmember Graber said Gator Nationals is coming up. Because of Hurricane Ian, the School Transportation Safety Committee meeting for Forward Pinellas was moved, of course, the county meeting was moved to October 19th. So I'll be there to provide feedback at our next meeting. And don't forget on October 11th, 10/11, think 10/11, that's the deadline to register to vote. So if you haven't registered or you need to change your registration or do anything, October 11th is the voter registration deadline. You can go to Vote Pinellas to make those changes because November will be here very soon. So be sure to have that on your radar. And that's all I have other than what's
Thank
already
you,
been mentioned.
Councilmember Gannon. Vice Mayor Buckman, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm, being spared from this storm. This was an eye awakener. Watching the videos, the time-lapse video, I don't know if you've seen that in Fort Myers, where that house is just blown right off. And it scares me that people stayed around and didn't leave. And that puts a lot of stress on our first responders and our ability to keep people safe. So hopefully there won't be another time, but if there's another time, please get out if you can. Excited to see Gator Nationals back. However, I will be in Vegas for a wedding. Our friends Nanette and Sean are getting married at the Little White Chapel. That should be interesting.
Lucky you.
And then I come back next weekend. I'll be at emo, my first emo course.
right.
So
Oh, wonderful.
that's right before the first week of government week that you just declared
Yes.
tonight. So I think that will be a good little event. Kind of took away the Jolly Trolley, it took away Moana, it took away a couple other things, but I'm looking forward to the education.
Yeah,
So
it's really great.
You're gonna love it.
It's really great.
should be good. Other than that, that's all I got, Mayor.
All
Thank
right,
you.
I got a couple things. Again, the hurricane was just crazy. I don't even know how to describe it. NBC News kept calling me to do an interview. They told me to do an interview Wednesday at 1 o'clock. They canceled. As soon as it turned, they said they're gonna do it Thursday at 1 o'clock. It was just, the phone calls for the press was just so intense for me that I got kind of scared a little bit. But I want to say one thing. I don't know what you did, Felicia, but the Harbor Palms, the phase 2, those guys, that place was a mess. Oakleaf, all those streets around Oakleaf, Chinaberry, they were a mess with equipment. They cleaned everything up that day. That's all they did. They prepared for that storm. I just want to say hats off for getting a fire under their tails to get that, because the neighbors were concerned. That stuff would have been flying all around. But they cleaned everything up. They got everything under control. They got all the dump trucks, all their equipment was packed away. I thought that did a great job. Council, I want to all make sure that we all agree that we're gonna, any funding, because I'm getting calls of donations and stuff, let's tell everybody we're gonna give it to Oldsmar Cares, right? So if anybody wants to donate anything for this to Hurricane Fund.
Hurricane Ian relief,
Let's,
okay.
hurricane relief, let's all focus, if anyone calls us or anyone talks to us, let's focus on giving to Oldsmar Cares. Are we okay with that? All right, so let's do that, and we wanna make donations, or, give money or food, whatever they need, what they mention, let's give that to Oldsmar Cares.
We can get their list off of the Oldsmar Cares website and kind of put it in our own.
I had a driver last, Sunday, I gave a bunch of stuff,
Yeah, I saw.
baby supplies and stuff. I emailed you guys what was going on if you wanted to donate. That truck went down Monday morning early. He had a truck and a trailer, it was just packed. And he has a marina down there in Fort Myers that got wiped out, so he went and donated all that food and supplies, which was great. One thing I wanted to mention, Katie, you mentioned the website for Pinellas County, it's so important. I was so upset about this hurricane because I got this massive increase in my flood insurance right before the storm. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? My home is actually in Zone B. I actually went to that.
Everybody got bumped, based on the FEMA flood maps, remember
Yeah.
last year, everybody, your zone that you previously had, you got bumped.
Well, yeah, I
One
used to be in
worse.
C. Now, I thought I was in A, because you and I talked about this. I thought I was in A.
And
I
as
looked at it,
Pam
even
was-
my flood insurance is A, but I'm actually in B. So I'm taking care of that tomorrow. But thanks for bringing that up. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I'm having my podcast. The Oldsmobile Club will be on my podcast. I wanted to bring that up. It's going to be live on Facebook. And I want to just say thanks to Deb. Deb, you do an amazing job for the script and everything you do for me. Thank you so much. And then the last thing I have is I want to welcome Tracy Miller to the team. I look forward to working with you, and I'm excited about it. And that's all I have. Anything else?
Am I permitted to make comments?
Yes.
Go ahead. Of course you are.
I didn't want to interrupt you because you got started, so thank you, Mayor.
Did I forget you?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I did forget you. Oh.
The train left the station,
Mayor
so I said.
Mayor
"See ya."
Seidel used to do that
I know.
to Gabby all the time.
Yeah,
didn't he?
I did. I forgot you. Like I did, Andrew, and Councilmember Knapp. Go ahead, buddy. You're
That's
up.
okay, thank
We're
you.
on a roll, though. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah. As I shared in a prior meeting, I'm going to be participating in the Tunnel to Towers stair climb this coming Saturday. 41 flights up over in Tampa. So I may need to be on a wheelchair at the Gator Nationals afterwards, but I don't know if you should put me on something with wheels at that park because we know things don't go well there.
We'll give you a chair.
Yeah, just a chair.
Just a chair.
Crutches, something, I don't know. I wanted to kind of revisit what Pam had mentioned at the beginning of this meeting. I like that idea of trying to find ways, what we can do here within our city of trying to help educate people. I know there's models out there probably that could help people understand in simulation what different levels of storm surge mean for us here in Oldsmar. So I think that might be something worth exploring, and not that we want to be fear-mongering or scaring people into leaving, but there's definitely value in that because it's I hate to say it, it's not trying to sound grim, but it's only a matter of time until we probably do suffer something maybe not as drastic or catastrophic as what took place in this previous storm. But as we all, I'm sure all of us know, we're at 101 years once we hit the conclusion of this storm season. And I think just from a statistical perspective, the odds aren't necessarily in our favor. So,
Did you guys get the letter from the city with the information about flood insurance? Because I got it. I'm just taking a survey of all of you, because the city of Oldsmar did send out a letter at the beginning of this hurricane season saying, hey, by the way, your zone changed. You, according to FEMA, you need to get flood insurance, and here's a map, and the city sent all that out. Did you?
Yeah, well, I don't remember seeing the map, but I think I did get it. But my fault.
Just because I know, did it go to everybody? Yeah, it went to everybody. Okay, I just want to make sure it didn't go to like just downtown people or just, okay.
yeah, but I think that
That's a good idea, yeah.
that education component can really help kind of hammer home. Like, we are in an extremely risk-prone area. If we get the storm that we almost got, we would be in a world of hurt right now. And so that's something that all of us, really, we're taking the risk living here. It's a great place to be, right? But it is a risky place to be, and there could be less risky places to live. So kind of trying to capitalize on the luck that we, kind of the luck of the draw that we got, I think is one thing to consider. I read some of my friends shared an interesting article with me recently, and not that I don't want this to come across as like kind of hammering or putting down Cape Coral, but it was a very in-depth examination about the development of that city from the early inception of it and kind of things that happened earlier on, not what's going on now currently, as far as like responsible development and resilient development, because that's where we're at now, right? Development has happened in our city. Trying to do things, and we have our council priorities, right? But in light of what's happened, I can't see something that is more important than ensuring the resiliency of our city to withstand a storm to the best of our ability, because, as I said, it is only a matter of time, not to be trying to scare anybody, but we got lucky. We got extremely lucky. And if it had happened, we would have an Oldsmar still, physically, as far as the land goes. But there would be a whole lot of people without homes, and I would hate to see that happen. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I know things have been done as far as our resiliency study goes, but in light, as Councilmember Gannon said, this one was scary. You know, being on the other side of Tampa Road, I even was like, no, this is not where I want to be right now. I'd like to come back. I'd like to have a home. I'd like everybody else to have a home. And so I don't know what that means, but I think it's probably very present in all of our minds right now of how do we ensure that we have places to come back to, not only for us, but for everyone, for our infrastructure here. And it was interesting kind of going back to that article, highlighting what had happened. Cape Coral basically sprouted out of nowhere out of a swamp, which is what a lot of Florida in general has done, right? Sprouted out of nowhere out of a swamp. And they've drained it, made canals, and made it a livable place. But, you know, Mother Nature can kind of have a pretty harsh way of reminding you she has the ultimate power.
Mhm.
So it's just something to keep in mind. And so I think we probably can have some motivation to think about things, and not saying we're going to drop everything and switch gears and build a wall around the city, but just it's scary. It really is. And we got lucky. We should do everything we can to help support those people down there, whatever way you can. If you can't support it through a financial donation or a goods or going down there, then turning around and saying, well, just being ready to support our people here too. It's going to go a long way. I mean, it happened down there. It could happen north of us, south of us, other coast, inland. I mean, Orlando got it pretty bad too in some spots. So it is scary, but I think I've said enough about it. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, anybody else for the record? All right, Tom, you got anything for us?
No, sir.
City manager?
No, sir.
All right.
Approve the agenda.
We have to approve the
Oh,
tentative
yes,
agenda.
we need to approve the tentative agenda for October 18th, 2020 council meeting. Does anyone wish to pull or add to the agenda? All right, and then I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, meeting adjourned.
No, we need to vote on it.
Oh, yeah. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Meeting adjourned.